Whoa. Good morning. Good morning. I hope I'm recording. I tried going live on YouTube, but it would not allow me to. I don't know why. Every time I tried, kept on saying something has go wrong. Every time I go just before the last step, said something would go wrong. So luckily, Zoom is here. Zoom has during this whole Corona thing, Zoom came out. It's one of those companies that came out and has been really on top of their game. Their stock value went up and all that stuff. And I've been using Zoom for a while now, almost 2 years, and it's never let me down. It's never let me down. So this video, it's recorded and posted on YouTube. It's I'm going to be reading to you The Prince, and as the title of the video says, it's chapter 4 and 5. I was actually going to read chapter 6 also, but I was outside earlier this morning, and the pollen attacked me. I got attacked by pollen, and I took some Benadryl, antihistamine medicine, and think I'll be okay. I'll be okay. So anyway, instead of reading you 3 chapters today, I'm only gonna read you 2 because because the reason is good people. You don't need to hear it. Anyway, chapter 4 of The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli is called Conquered by Alexander the Great. The kingdom of Darius did not rebel against his successors after his death. Why not? Now that we've seen how difficult it is to hold on to recently acquired territories, some readers will be surprised to recall what happened when Alexander the Great conquered Asia in just a few years, then died very soon after his victory was complete. You would have thought the whole area would have rebelled, yet Alexander's successors held on to it, and the only trouble that had arose from their own. You would have thought the whole area would have rebelled, yet Alexander's successors held on to it, and the only trouble they had arose from their own personal ambitions and infighting. To explain this situation, let's start by remembering that all monarchies on record have been governed in one of 2 ways. Either by a king and the servants he appoints as ministers to run his kingdom, or by a king and a number of barons who are appointed by the king but hold their positions thanks to hereditary privilege. These barons have their own lands and their own subjects who recognize the barons as their masters and are naturally loyal to them. Where a state is governed by a king and his ministers, the king is more powerful since he is the only person in the state whom people recognize as superior. When they obey someone else, it is only because he is a minister or official, and they have no special loyalty to him. Examples of these 2 forms of government in our own times are Turkey and France. The whole of Turkey is governed by one ruler, or sultan. Everyone serves him. He divides his realm into provinces, or sanjaks, and sends administrators to run them, appointing and dismissing them as he sees fit. The King of France, on the other hand, is surrounded by any number of barons whose rights date back to ancient times and who are acknowledged and loved by their subjects. Each baron has specific privileges, which a king can only take away at his peril. Looking at these kinds of states, it's clear that Turkey is hard to conquer, but once conquered, very easy to hold. France, on the other hand, will be somewhat easier to conquer, but very hard to hold. The reason why it's hard to conquer a country like Turkey is that there are no barons to invite you in, and you can't expect anyone to make your invasion easier by rebelling against the king. This follows naturally from the situation as described above. Since all subjects are the king's servants and indebted to him, it's hard to conquer them. It's hard to corrupt them. And even assuming you do manage to bribe someone, he's not likely to be much help because he can't bring any local people along with him. This again, for the reasons I've explained. So, anyone attacking this kind of country has to reckon that he will find it united against him, and hence has to rely on his own armed forces rather than on any mutiny in enemy ranks. But once you have won and routed the enemy and made sure he can't rebuild his armies, then the only thing to worry about is the king and his family. Eliminate them, and no one else can threaten you, since no one commands the loyalty of the people. Just as before your victory, you couldn't look to any barons for help, so after it, there are none around to pose a threat. The opposite is true in countries run along French lines. Here you can make inroads easily enough, winning the support of a baron or two. There's always someone unhappy with the king and eager for change. Then, these people are well placed to get you a foothold in the country and help you to victory. But afterwards, you're going to have all kinds of problems holding on to what you've won. Problems with the people who fought on your side, and problem with those who fought against you and lost. This time, it won't be enough to eliminate the king's family, because there will always be barons ready to assume authority when circumstances swing their way. And since you can never give them everything they want and never eliminate them all, you lose the territory you took as soon as your enemies get an opportunity to rebel. If we go back now to the Kingdom of Darius, we'll find that it was of the Turkish variety. So Alexander first had to defeat its entire army and get control of the country. But once he'd done that, and once Darius was dead, he was securely in command for the reasons cited above. And if his successors had been united, they could have run the region without any worries. In fact, the only trouble was the infighting they started themselves. But states organized the French way can never really be held so easily. The frequent uprisings against the Roman power in Spain, Gaul, and Greece, for example, were the result of those regions being internally divided into so many principalities. So long as people remembered their old loyalties to local lords, Rome was never in complete control. But once the power and permanence of empire had extinguished those loyalties, then Rome became the undisputed master of the region. In fact, when the Romans started fighting among themselves, each warring commander was able to bring the province he was running into the conflict on his side. Since once the families of the old local rulers had been eliminated, the only authority people recognized was Rome's representative. When you take all this into account, it's really not surprising how easy it was for Alexander to hold Asia, nor how hard it was for many others, Pyrrhus, for example, to hold on to the territories they took. It wasn't a question of the abilities of each particular conqueror, but of the different kinds of state they had invaded. Chapter 5: How to govern cities and states that were previously self-governing. When the states you invade have been accustomed to governing themselves without a monarch and living in freedom under their own laws, then there are three ways of holding on to them. The first is to reduce them to rabble. The second is to go and live there yourself. The third is to let them go on living under their own laws and make them pay you a tax and install a government of just a few local people to keep the state as a whole friendly. Since this government has been set up by the invading ruler, its members know they can't survive without his support and will do everything they can to defend his authority. Once you've decided not to destroy it, the best way to hold a previously self-governing city is with the help of its own citizens. Let's take our examples from Sparta and Rome. The Spartans held Athens and Thebes by setting up governments run by a few local people, but in the end, they lost these towns. The Romans razed Capua, Carthage, and Numantia to the ground, and that way held on to them. They tried to hold Greece in much the same way the Spartans had, granting it self-government and leaving it its own laws. But it didn't work, and eventually they were forced to destroy quite a number of cities so as to keep hold of the region as a whole. The truth is that the only sure way to hold such places is to destroy them. If you conquer a city accustomed to self-government and opt not to destroy it, you can expect it to destroy you. Rebelling, its people will always rally to the cry of freedom and the inspiration of their old institutions. It doesn't matter how long they've been occupied or how benevolent the occupation. These things will never be forgotten. Whatever you do, whatever measures you take, if the population hasn't been routed and dispersed so that its freedoms and traditions are quite forgotten, they will rise up to fight for those principles at the first opportunity, just as the Pisans did after 100 years of Florentine dominion. But when a people has been accustomed to living under a ruler and the ruler's family has been eliminated, then, since they're used to obeying but now have no one to follow, they won't be able to choose a new leader from among themselves, nor to live in freedom without one. So they'll be slower to rebel, and an invader can win them over and gain their loyalty more easily. Republics, on the other hand, have more life in them. Republics, on the other hand, have more life in them, more hatred, and a greater thirst for revenge. Their memory of old freedoms lingers on and won't let them rest. In these cases, your only options are to reduce the place to rubble or go live there yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's chapter 4 and 5. Man, thank you for watching. I apologize for my stuffy nose. Anyway, excuse me. Thank you. Please have a good day. Have a blessed day. Stay healthy. Stay well, good people. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. Comment, like this video, share, whatever. All the good things. Adios, good people. Have a good day.